Good afternoon and welcome to this, the final day of Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. This afternoon, thousands of people are gathering on the Mall in London to watch the Platinum Pageant. Wherever you are, you can join in the fun as we watch what promises to be a truly glorious procession. It's going to be a spectacle fit for the Queen, with a cast of thousands from across the United Kingdom, a whole host of famous faces, displays from the military, and a performance from one of the world's biggest music stars, Ed Sheeran. Everyone turning out to honour Her Majesty's momentous 70-year reign, and joining me here in the Jubilee Bandstand will be guests from stage, screen and sport, all coming along to share their memories of meeting the monarch and to celebrate the Queen's historic achievement. Well, on the Mall right now are Anita Rani and AJ Adudu, who will be reporting from the heart of the action.
Thank you, Kirsty. Welcome to the Mall, where thousands of people are getting ready for the parade and thousands of people are here to watch it. And I've had a sneak peek and I can tell you that I've already seen grannies dressed as pineapples, a mobility scooter as a flamingo and thousands of space hoppers. It's like a parallel universe.
It certainly is. In just over an hour's time, the Mall is going to be absolutely jam-packed full of the most amazing carnival, filled with performers, dancers, acrobats, military displays, even puppet corgis.
Yeah, quite right. The parade's going to come along the Mall, around the Queen Victoria Memorial, past Buckingham Palace, thrilling the crowds, but also watching on will be the royals and their families. Everyone is here to have a wonderful afternoon, and me and AJ, we're going to be in the thick of it.
Puppet corgis, you say? I can't imagine what that's going to look like. Thanks to Anita and AJ. We sincerely hope that alongside the Prince of Wales, the Duke of Cambridge and Prince George, Her Majesty will be making an appearance on the balcony of Buckingham Palace at the end of the pageant. Now, that's what's happening here in London, but absolutely everywhere from Portree to Penzance, trestle tables, garden gazebos, picnic chairs, champagne flutes, paper cups and bunting, of course, have been called into action for Her Majesty's big Jubilee lunch. Well, joining in with one street party in Leeds is Owain Wyn Evans.
Hello, Kirsty. Yes, indeed, I'm here in Alwoodley in Leeds, where everyone has come out to celebrate what is this street's first ever Jubilee party. Now, there's all sorts going on here. No street party, of course, would be complete without a bouncy castle. We got a bit of face painting going on over there, which I may indulge in a bit later on, and delicious food from around the globe.
I want to see a Union Jack on that face of yours before the end of the day. Now from Leeds to Shrewsbury, where we'll find Strictly Come Dancing's Anton de Beck.
My love, welcome, welcome. We're having a wonderful time here with the residents raising a glass to the Queen. Thank you, Alistair. They've laid on a lovely spread here at Isle Court in Shrewsbury. We've got a full roast dinner with all the trimmings. Joyce over there is keeping mine warm. I think she's going to have me Brussels sprouts. We've even got, thank you very much for that little ripple of applause. Thank you very much. I've been warming them up for hours. We've even got a visit from the Queen herself, Your Majesty. It's all going on here, I can tell you.
You are shameless. You're just shameless. And that's why we love you. Let's head from west to east now, cross country, to join Sophie Morgan in the lovely village of Lavenham.
Hi, Kirsty. Yeah, well, to commemorate this monumental occasion, I am here in Suffolk in this picturesque village of Lavenham. I'm here in the historic marketplace. Now, the people here have pulled out all of the stops, and I'm with what appears to be the entire village.
Isn't that terrific? We will join you again later. What a lovely atmosphere. Thank you all. Anton and Owain, of course, will catch up with them as well. Now, when I said everyone was celebrating with a big Jubilee lunch, I really meant it. Take a look at this.
Do you have any tips of when I go to the palace?
A good tip would certainly be to ask for a seat near the bathroom if you're about to have a baby, because you never know what might happen.
I already need that. Good idea.
Might need more than a toilet if the water's breaking.
But that is true.
My tip would be don't wear too high heels, because that couple of steps back that you have to take is quite challenging. Not that obviously I wore heels receiving mine, but you know.
Now, the celebrations to mark the Queen's Jubilee have been going strong for the last 3 days, starting with a very special tribute to Her Majesty from the military. Well, the children of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, their Royal Highnesses Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and little Prince Louis made their carriage debut at Trooping the Colour. There they are, giving a wave. And we saw Her Majesty, along with the royal family, take pride of place on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Thursday evening saw the Queen lighting the principal beacon outside Windsor. What a spectacle. With the Heatherwick tree at Buckingham Palace being the principal beacon lit. And we witnessed a beautiful service of Thanksgiving on Friday morning at St Paul's Cathedral, attended of course by members of the royal family. Lots of memories. And last night there was, well, it was a jaw-dropper, wasn't it, of a concert enjoyed by thousands of people on the Mall and millions of you at home. Incredible. Joining me now in the bandstand in St James's Park is one of the truly iconic musicians who performed last night, Nile Rodgers, and our man backstage, Roman Kemp. Thank you both for coming. Nile, it is such a pleasure to meet you. It was such a pleasure to watch you last night on stage with Duran Duran, absolutely smashing it. How did it feel?
It was amazing. It was, this is not made up, this is totally true.
Yeah.
The sheer jubilance and the vibe of the crowd felt like there was an electromagnetic field. I could just walk over the crowd and they'd keep me suspended in the air. They were just, they were loaded with
description.
Energy.
And you know, you are, I mean, I think of you as a man in performance terms, not just production terms, who's kind of seen it all. Where does this sit? Where does last night's concert sit in the pantheon of your work and the amount of crowds and concerts you've done?
It hit me this morning that this is probably the biggest thing that I will ever do and have done. And I played President Obama's final party. I played the very first Live Aid, the really good one.
It was the really good one, yeah.
A really good one. And it hit me that the entire Commonwealth is supporting this and that people are watching it all over the place, man. And it's like completely next level.
And what were your highlights? I mean, you know, one of my highlights was you, but what were your highlights when you watched the other performers?
Honestly, my highlights were watching my friends. Andrea Bocelli is like one of my best friends. We had just worked 2 days before that. I saw Brian May backstage. I saw, Andrew Lloyd Webber, who's a dear friend. I saw Hans Zimmer.
The Hans Zimmer with Celeste, for me, was an absolute standout, iconic moment.
And the thing that's wonderful for me is that these are all people that I adore. I love. We hang out. And for us to wind up in the same place at the same time for the same reason was an incredible thing.
Well, we were grateful you did. And of course, the iconic Miss Ross, who rather showed us all how it was done at the end of the concert.
I woke up this morning, this true story. I woke up this morning, first thing I saw, the very first message was from Diana.
Nice.
And I had missed it 30 minutes prior.
Okay.
It was, 23 minutes. First message was from Diana Ross. Second message was from a good friend of mine who's very much like you, a big newscaster in America. And we woke up and we chatted and we talked about last night. It was so great.
Roman, I mean, have you come down yet?
Well, I don't know how to follow all them names.
But you know, the thing is, he's not even dropping them.
No,
they're just his friends.
Just his friends, exactly. No, to be totally honest, I haven't. It was incredible. It was an honour to be part of it, you know. And last night was a real kind of showcase. And I've said this a few times. And you know, no offence to other nations, but I truly do believe that us as Brits, I think we do this the best. I think these types of events, you don't get this anywhere else in the world. And last night was a true kind of showing of that to me.
You know, I really would like to mention the lighting designer. Now I'm going to sound, a little bit swanky fancy, but I was walking up the steps to Buckingham Palace last night. I was going to the after show party, which was sensational, and I bumped into the lighting designer, a man I'd not met before, Nigel Capmer. The guy who did the projections is called Tom Bairstow. Mm-hmm. I think the pair of them should take a bow to the nation because the beauty, it was perfect, right? Yeah. The creativity in that.
The drone show.
The corgi drone.
Honestly, that corgi drone. The drone thing. I was there last night. I could not close my mouth. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it really was. It was phenomenal. The design behind it was insane. So as I say, as you said there as well, take a bow of those guys.
You both went to the party then, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you have a good time?
Had a blast. I mean, I didn't get home until 3-something in the morning, but it's funny too. Yesterday, when I bumped into Roman, I bumped into him twice, completely by accident. And he said to me, Niall, how do you feel about this? And at that point, I didn't really know how I felt.
Sure, okay.
It wasn't until after that I was just so completely overwhelmed and blown away, man.
Did you have a good time at the party?
Yeah, I did. What I can't believe is that at a after party at Buckingham Palace, I'm going to say this, after party at Buckingham Palace, they turned the lights on to make everyone leave. That's the funny thing.
I didn't stay that late.
You were there. You were definitely there. Like, it got so late. And like when you go to a nightclub, I literally went from like under 18's Destiny nightclub in Watford, where they turn the lights on at the end, to still turning the lights on at the end at Buckingham Palace.
Who did you meet? Everybody was there.
Everyone was there. I bumped into, I'm terrible at royal protocol when they tell you if you meet a royal what you have to say. I'm so bad at it. I make mistakes all the time. Yesterday the Princess Kate was there and she looked amazing.
Duchess of Cambridge,
she looked Duchess of Cambridge. Do you know what I mean?
But everybody,
that's my job, right? That's my job.
It is your job, right? And then I saw her and she was like, "Oh, you look great." And I looked at her and I went, "Yeah, wow, you look really fit." I said, "You look really fit," and then but not like that. And then I kind of went, and then I went, "No, sorry, you look amazing." And then she was like, "Great." She was like, "Oh, thank you so much." She laughed. I think I just got nervous.
Okay, I think you did. Well, thanks. I mean, you had a late night. You had a really late night.
But the thing that was so cool is that all of the royal family were so cordial and so normal, right? They just approach him with, "Hey, Niall, how are you? How you doing?"
I kind of think they'd be pleased to meet you, right? I think they're lucky to meet you as well as you're lucky to meet them. And we're running out of time now, but I just want to say I feel lucky to meet you because,
Stop.
Anyway, thank you. Thank you for coming, and go and have a Bloody Mary, because I'm sure you both need one. So it's on now to the final big event of this bank holiday celebration, the Platinum Pageant. For the last few months, regiments from the military, along with thousands of people from across the UK and community groups, schools and youth clubs, have been dedicating their spare time to choreographing dance routines, decorating floats and making costumes, all so that they can take part in what is set to be an historic pageant.
Jubilee's creating a fantastic mobile stage which is going to be full of acrobats, break dancers, trampolines with people flying through the air.
We're going to be jumping across from some moving vehicles to some moving vehicles whilst doing some very extreme tricks.
As a collective, it's going to look so powerful, so modern.
It's going to be celebrating diverse, multicultural UK, different ages, abilities. So we're just celebrating our wonderful selves.
I'm one of the Gangster Gran crew, and we're all street dancers from 65 to 76. We're going to be going down the Mall. Come on, it's wonderful. New challenges at 65. Come on, get in. That's what we need.
Hi, my name's Nick from Cube London. We've got an important role to play in the pageant, which is wrapping all of the decade buses, which ranges from the 1950s right up to the 2010s. The images on the buses have been carefully selected to reflect the decades, and they range from David Beckham to Nelson Mandela.
Connecticut is creating the thank you dance, which is the final section of the pageant, and it is a thank you to the Queen for 70 years of service. And it's thank you to the key workers who got us through the pandemic. Many of our participants grew up in different areas of the Commonwealth. Her Majesty connects us all.
Look at that! I've told my family members in Africa to be by the television because I'm part of history. And to be able to wave to the Queen, I'm looking forward to that one.
Today we are rehearsing for the Queen's Jubilee pageant on Sunday. It's going to be an exciting moment when we're marching down the Mall, to have that many people watching, to be able to represent the Royal Marines and the Royal Marine Reserves. Something that will live with me for the rest of my career as a reservist.
A wee bit nervous, I don't think it's going to hit us until actually we get there on Sunday and get all prepared, ready for it.
We wanted to bring a lot of fun into the section that we were doing, and I think our driver was the love that the Queen has for animals. It's an ode to her.
So our section is called The Wedding Party. We take our inspiration from the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh's wedding.
But we've given it a Bollywood twist. My vision for this piece was to have people coming from different parts of the country, people who've never participated in the arts before.
When I told my mum, she didn't believe it. She was like, the Queen, Buckingham Palace, London, no. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, let me see the letter. And then I told all my family on the phone and they were really excited.
I'm this excited because we're going to be dancing with the Queen. I think she might fall off her throne, to be honest, because ours is wow.
It's buzzing with activity here at the embankment. Thousands of people are doing their last-minute preparations for the pageant. The trucks have pulled in, the floats are being put together, and everybody is ready to perform, including this lot. You've just met them, the Gangster Grans. Hello, Bev. Pineapple.
Oh yes, you would not believe how excited everyone is. It's amazing. But not just today, the build-up has been fantastic. All the rehearsals and meetings.
Yeah, are you ready? Are you ready?
We are ready.
Jude's ready. Look at Jude, you got the moves, Jude. Show me those moves. Come on. Is that? Yes, Jude. Yes, Jude. I mean, I hope you're doing that at home. You Gangster Grans are going to kill it. You're going to be amazing. And this is Valerie. Valerie, you're part of the thank you dance, and that is thank you to all the key workers who got us through COVID, including you.
Yes.
How do you feel about today?
I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to this dance. The joy, the happiness.
the joy and the happiness. And you're going to be waving at the Queen.
Yes.
She's even got the royal wave. And Gemma and Alex have a good one, Valerie. Gemma and Alex, who got married Friday.
Yeah.
And you've been partying for 2 days straight.
2 days.
Have you had any sleep?
2 hours.
You're looking good on it.
Thank you.
Just see it through.
Yeah,
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Very excited.
Yes.
And what will you be doing?
So we're part of the Let's Celebrate Bridgewater Guildford's Carnival. All its glory. It's been an amazing build for the last 6 months. So we're looking forward to showing it off, show what Bridgewater Carnival can do.
And what a way to end your weekend of wedding celebrations.
Yes, yeah.
Once in a lifetime moment.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
enjoy yourselves. Enjoy yourselves, all of you. They're going to have a great time.
Well, still here with me is Niall Rogers, and joining him is another musical legend, Sir Cliff Richard. Thank you very much for taking the time, Sir Cliff.
My pleasure.
You've flown over from Florida, right?
About what?
You've flown over from Florida to come here?
I did, I flew over.
You didn't bring the sun. I'm just saying you didn't bring
Some
the
friends of mine
sunshine.
got married.
Right.
So I went to the wedding, and of course there was something else that I had to do.
You had to come here. Well, first of all,
Yes, I simply couldn't miss this.
very, very nice blazer. Why have you flown all this way to do this? I mean, you could have watched it on the TV and you could have said, yes,
I
thank
could
you,
have
Mum.
done, yeah, but there's something about being asked to be near the royalty.
Yeah.
And in this case, I mean, I was disappointed I couldn't be on stage because I thought this year's production of the show was absolutely phenomenal. I was getting green with envy, thinking I'd just like to have one photograph taken against the palace looking like that.
It was quite something.
But it wasn't my turn, and the young guys have taken over. And quite rightly so. Do you realise that there's some of us that could only be termed the old brigade? And so now it's great to see new artists coming through.
Yeah.
They'll be singing for Charles, and they'll be singing for William.
And there were some fabulous young artists last night. I thought.
Absolutely. I thought it was the best looking show that they've ever done here. And of course, again, I was green with envy because the shows that I've done here before, I think someone switched the lights on when we sang and someone switched it off when we finished. But the production was brilliant, wasn't it?
It was
brilliant.
truly brilliant. I completely agree. So you are appearing in the pageant today. You're on one of these famous buses we keep hearing so much about.
I think they've got a red bus for each decade.
Yeah.
I should be on all of them.
Yeah. That's true. You could have been
I'm in the 50s, which of course is when the Queen was crowned.
Yes.
She was crowned in 53.
53.
I was 17 in 58. So I made my first record when I was 17, but so the connection is there, and I quite like that.
When did you first meet Her Majesty?
I don't think that was till the early 60s, because 58, 59 I was kicking off my career. I had sung in a show called Oh Boy, Monty Wilde, myself, Billy Fury. We were the sort of pioneers, and we were invited to do a show for royalty, but it wasn't just me. It was the Oh Boy show. And that felt much more comfortable. Later, of course, I got invited to be in command performances and Royal Variety performances, and then it's nerve-wracking.
Yes.
You're on your own, you know.
Yeah. Is there an extra edge of nerves when you're performing for royalty?
Yes, I think there is. There's something about it. Even though when you meet the royals, they're actually ordinary people doing something extraordinary. So, but it still feels that you just long desperately not to make any mistakes.
Okay. Well, you obviously didn't, because you've been well rewarded for your efforts and your contributions to the entertainment industry. Was it an OBE first?
I did get the OBE, but it worried me because somebody said that stands for Old Big Head or Oldest British Entertainer.
And then you went to the palace to collect your knighthood. When was that?
Yeah, some of the things that have happened to me are the things that you can't plan.
Yeah.
It was never on my radar. Not the OBE, or then definitely not the knighthood. It was just I never thought about it. So it was a fantastic, fantastic honour being at the palace, and the Queen did the job.
Did she?
Yeah, it was really
nice.
That was a nerve-wracking thing as well, because when I got there, this guy said, "Okay, 2 of you are knights. Just come here," and they said, "See this stool? It's going to be there. Use it. You have to kneel."
Yes.
And hold a handle. He said, grown men have fallen over with nerves.
Yes.
So I did that. And the other thing they said to me was, say nothing until the Queen says something to you.
Okay.
So I listened to everything. I held the thing, got it. I was a bit worried that the Queen came like this with the sword. But it was just, I didn't fall off the stool. And then you lean forward and she puts the medal around your neck, and then you stand up. And she said, ew, she said, it's been a long time coming. And I said, well, I promise you, I don't know what happened to me. It must have been the nerves.
Of course.
The band started to play congratulations, and I couldn't talk. And afterwards I said to my sisters, the Queen is probably thinking, why didn't we knight someone who could speak English?
Now, Rogers, I wonder, you know, you've made clear your respect for the royals and how delighted you were to perform. But from an American perspective, from an international perspective, does some of this kind of feel a bit curious? You know, people with Union Jacks on talking about this woman they've never met and loving her so much?
It would have seemed like that, but I've been coming here since the early 70s.
Right.
I started my career on tour in the early 70s, so I've spent a huge amount of time here. I'm chief creative at Abbey Road Studios, so I'm in the UK a lot.
So you understand the British?
Understand maybe stretching.
I know.
But I sort of get it.
I overstep the mark.
I sort of get it.
You sort of get it.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think, I mean, you know, we hear a lot about the Americans being fascinated by royalty and by our Queen. Do you think that's still the case? They're fascinated by the Queen?
That may be the case. I come from a sort of different, I'm a hippie, you know, I come from a different background.
Yeah.
So I'm aware that
you don't have a sense of that, maybe.
But I have to say that last night at the party, the thing that just sort of was completely shocking to me, every royal walked up to me and said, "Hello, Niall." And I was like, what? I didn't know what to say. "Hello, Niall." "Oh, I'm Sir." So, "Hello, Niall." "I'm Sir." So I was like, whoa, like everyone knew me. And I felt, okay, in my business, typically, as in your business, they cue you up and say, okay, that guy is so-and-so. When you see him, his name is Niall. But it felt completely sincere. But these are all people I had worked for and done charitable things for.
It's so nice to see you both. Thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. AJ is at Horse Guards Parade and is about to give us a sneak peek of what we can expect to see in the Platinum Pageant a little later.
Hello, I am stood in front of just one of the 7 open-top double-decker buses that will play a key part in today's pageant. Each one has been carefully designed and decorated in images representing that decade. This is the 1950s bus, which has the Queen at her coronation, Winston Churchill, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis, you name it, that bus has got it. Outside of each bus, you will see performers, jivers, dancers, puppets. It's gonna be incredible. And if that wasn't enough, on top of each double-decker bus will be celebrity famous faces that have helped shape the culture of Great Britain. 3 of whom I am joined by now. The nation's PE teacher, Jo Wicks, actress Patsy Kensit, and fashionista Gok Wan. Hello!
AJ, first off, you've upstaged all of us and the buses in that outfit. You look incredible.
You look incredible. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to see you all. I mean, Gok, you're good. Jo, you're going to be on top of one of the double-decker buses. What are you going to be doing? Are you going to be doing burpees up there?
Well, I thought if it does get chilly, we can always turn to a little bit of physical exercise to warm the body up. But no, I'm looking. You know what? It's so amazing to see everyone dressed up. These buses look incredible, and to be a part of something so momentous is. I'm really proud to be, and I hope we're going to have a wonderful day together.
Oh, me too. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the Queen herself will make an appearance. Gok, what do you think she's going to be donning?
Do you know what? She was wearing blue, wasn't she, on her last public appearance, because I think it was on Friday.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be pink. I'm going with pink, because you've got to think to yourself, right, so you've got the world watching, an estimated 1 billion people around the world watching us.
Billion.
I mean, literally 1 billion people.
No pressure.
And so, we're here for her, so you've got to stand out from the crowd. So my money would be on pink. I'm going to have to say
I love
pink.
that. You've already placed your bet. And Patsy, how important is it to be here on this historic occasion?
There are no words. I'm on the 1990s bus and
what an era, what a decade that was.
Well, from what I can remember, it was wonderful.
It was a good time.
And I grew up, and so with some great 90s icons. honoured to be here, of course. Can't believe it.
Yeah.
In great company. Let's do some jumping jacks later, you
Yeah.
and me. Gok, you could star me.
Oh, I don't
Is
think I
that
need
a
to star
party?
you. I have to say, AJ, when we walked in today, this is the honest truth, we walk into a room, it is the who's who of British celebrity royalty. I kid you not, I've never been so nervous in my life because literally every single person, you're bumping into them all. So you are in for the biggest treat. When those buses
Yes.
go down, you're going to see all of the best faces that you've ever loved. It's going to be incredible.
And I cannot wait.
Please wave back.
I love that. I'm sure they will. We are all ready to have a royally good time.
Excited? I think so. There's no doubt it is a very special day. The crowds have gathered behind us and around the palace. You can get, well, there is an air of quiet excitement. Obviously the road is quiet because that is where the pageant will be travelling down. And very shortly it is going to take over the whole of central London. It's quite an operation, this, with a cast of almost 8,000 people. They are currently massing along the River Thames. That's sort of serving as the backstage area right now. The actual procession, well, that's going to start from Whitehall. And it's working its way, there we go, down towards Admiralty Arch, down the Mall, and then coming towards Buckingham Palace. Now, usually when you put on a show, you get a rehearsal. But due to the sheer size and logistics of today's unique event, that's not been possible. So this will be the first time that all these thousands of people will have performed together. What could possibly go wrong? Let's welcome Dame Twiggy and Lord Sebastian Coe. It's Twiggy Lawson, but Dame Twiggy just kind of feels right. Sebastian Coe, if I can come to you first of all. I mean, you're a master at this. You know, you were part of that whole thing in 2012, of course, the remarkable Olympics. So successful.
We got away with it.
Yeah, that opening ceremony. I want to ask about the opening ceremony. Was there ever a rehearsal when all the performers came together and you did it?
Yeah, over weeks in a way, because part of it was filmed in advance. I'm probably breaching too many confidences
That's fine.
here.
It was 2012.
But Danny was the great filmmaker, so a lot of what you saw at home
was a mixture of film.
Was a mixture of film stuff, and he was very particular about it. So all the shots where they were forging the steel, he'd often say, "Cut, go back, do it. That's not how you carry a hammer." And then the rest of it was obviously live. But the rehearsals took place at a sort of a disused car. Big showground out at Dagenham, and they did very glamorous. They had the same layout as the stadium. It was the helicopter that was a slight problem.
Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, today, so they haven't rehearsed. It has a uniquely British feel about it, this pageant, I have to say. I do get the feeling anything could happen. Twiggy, you are going to be part of the pageant. What is it you're doing?
I'm going to be a dame in a jag.
Nice, why not?
Actually, I was just saying to Seb, when they wrote to me and said, would you be a dame in a jag? I said it sounded like a Carry-On film.
It does, it sounds like a character, doesn't it? Little Britain
But it's
sketch.
a very beautiful jag.
Right.
I'm not sure of the actual number of it because I'm not a big car person, but it belongs to Noel Gallagher apparently.
So they're vintage, there's a sort of selection of vintage jags.
Yes.
And
there's
these
going to be
ladies of a
few
certain
dames.
vintage are going to be sitting in them. That is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Sebastian Coe, I know that you obviously, could I say on many occasions you've met the Queen, quite a lot of occasions?
Yeah, from the sort of late 70s onwards, because actually quite nicely, if you broke a world record, which I did, the Queen was patron of the Old British Amateur Athletics Association.
Oh, okay.
So they would give you a plaque to remember that, and so sort of met her on those occasions. Then, of course, around the Olympics, she was absolutely essential, as was the Princess Royal. And in fact, she hosted big moment, really, when some of the selection panel come through the city. So she hosted them at Buckingham Palace on a Friday night and even appeared on the balcony and waved them goodbye. So it sort of put Paris and Madrid in its place.
Yes, she knows her power. She is a lady
She absolutely knows her power.
Yes, and so when you've met with the Queen, people frequently, there's so many people have sat here and said, I said stupid things, I can't believe we talked about that, I've flubbed my words. I mean, we just heard from Sir Cliff Richard, who said, somebody who's obviously incredibly articulate, used to performing, completely lost it. How are you? Do you find it easy to be around Her Majesty to chat?
I think most people do, because she's genuinely interested in people. And you know, you're not sitting there sort of humming and hawing. I mean, she's obviously very well briefed, but she also has a bandwidth of experience and interest, and clearly makes an effort to understand who she's talking to, and that makes life very much easier when the conversation flows.
And Twiggy, what do you think it is? We've been trying to pin it down in this little studio over this long weekend. What do you think it is about Her Majesty that so sort of captures the hearts of people?
I mean, she is genuinely loved across the world. I've worked a lot in America.
Right.
And when you meet Americans, I've lived in America for little periods of time, one of the first questions they always ask me is, have you ever met the Queen?
Right.
You know, you may meet amazing film stars, but the Queen, she's like this, she's this beacon of light, isn't she? And she's so gracious. She's served this country incredibly well. I mean, I just love and adore her. And I did get a bit speechless a few times I'd met her, because there's an aura around her that is extraordinary.
Yes.
I mean, her dedication to her service is amazing.
I wonder, Sebastian, I particularly, when I watched the Queen's Christmas message this year, for me, I mean, I don't tear up that easily, but goodness me, that was quite something this year.
I think it was
this last Christmas.
I think it was probably one of the most accomplished speeches I've ever heard, and I think her great ability to put into words what most people struggle to articulate, particularly on big national moments. But that was particularly personal. But it reached out at the same time. I thought it was a magnificent speech.
Yes, and the loss of the Duke of Edinburgh, and that shared commonality with so many people who, especially post-COVID, had lost so many people.
There was a humility there that was. I don't think I've ever witnessed that before.
No.
I thought it was very interesting last night when we heard the Prince of Wales give his tribute. And I also thought on that occasion, you know, really quite an opening up. And I presume you were watching. Did you see it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What did you think?
Amazing. I mean, the whole evening was extraordinary. Extraordinary. I cried through a lot of it.
Did you?
And I did.
What made you cry?
I don't know. I think it's just, you know, she's had such an influence on all our lives. And when Prince Charles talked about Prince Philip and Her Majesty, I don't know, it just welled up inside me. It was just, and then when those incredible illuminations in the sky, which were like magic, weren't they? Somebody told me today how they were done. I still don't quite understand, but it was amazing.
700 drones in the sky.
Unbelievable. And when the one came up of her head in the sky, amazing.
Sebastian Coe, you know, you mentioned there the Olympic bid, and the soft power is the phrase that people use. Last night, I think in particular, those pictures beamed around the world to say this is Britain. Pretty good advert.
The best advert you could possibly have, and I think, I mean, for me, there was a very evocative moment, because of course Paddington, in 2022 was James Bond in 2012. It was the same, and she entered into it with the same spirit and joy, and carried it off perfectly. I mean, it was pitch perfect.
It was, yes. Her timing's immaculate.
Especially the marmalade sandwich.
Thank you both very much. Now, earlier on, we saw Owain win Evans at a street party in Leeds. Just before we go back and see how their party's going, let's take a closer look at some of the people that live on that street, and let's see how they've prepared for today.
On our street, we've got lots of different people from different backgrounds. It's inclusive and it's diverse, and that's really important.
This is going to be our first Jubilee, kind of a British kind of celebration, meeting new people.
Hello, I'm Derry. I came from Hong Kong and want to start a new chapter here. We really want to know everybody on this street. Yeah, so we're lovely to join the party.
It's going to be a small sample of modern Britain, where you see people coming together from different backgrounds.
It'll be a good way to meet neighbours, see each other and talk with each other.
It would be a great opportunity for people of all ages.
One of the ideas was for everybody to bring a dish. My husband's family is from Iran. We're bringing something called Olivia, which is a traditional party dish.
We're going to contribute with some nice sandwiches to the party.
We are considering to make some Chinese chow mein.
Through their food, through their cuisine, I'm going to get to know a lot of people.
It's a good opportunity for us to celebrate Queen's Jubilee and unite over her achievements and her milestones, to think about how much she's done for us and the country.
Hello, hello everyone. Yes, I am here in sunny Leeds. Well, I say sunny, brighter than it was earlier on. It was raining quite heavily earlier, but you know what? No matter what the weather's doing here in West Yorkshire, darlings, the mood is always fabulous. Speaking of fabulous, look at the street. The bunting's up, bouncy castles over there. We've got a glitter station over there and a bit of face painting as well. May indulge later on. But of course, putting on an event like this takes time and takes a lot of planning as well. And here we have Margaret, Liz and Sammy. Hello, you three.
Hiya.
Sammy, how are you feeling now it's all come together?
So pleased that everybody's made it and yeah, the day's come together.
Absolutely good. Bit of glitter on the face there as well, Sammy.
Absolutely, for the BBC.
We love, darling, we love. And you know, one of the things I love about this street party in particular, there's such a range as far as the ages are concerned. Some of the youngsters over there playing football. As I said, the bouncy castles over there as well. And Jad and Jihan are here. Hello, you
Hiya,
two.
how are you?
Jad, this is your first Jubilee celebration, isn't it?
Yeah, it is my first Jubilee celebration. I'm so excited. I love the community spirit. I've been watching the celebrations going on for the past 3 days, and it's been really nice to see not only the country but the whole globe come together to celebrate the Queen's monumental achievement.
Oh, I love that. The whole globe and this street as well. Fabulous to see you both. Catch you in a bit. Now, wandering over here, another favourite area of mine, the food, of course, everyone. And there is a plentiful supply of food. 40 nations represented here all around the table with all these gorgeous flags. Sudeshna, what is this?
This is dry chili chicken and sprout salad.
Oh, it looks absolutely stunning. Will you keep a bit for me?
Of course.
Thank you so much, Karen. Can I just say, I'm loving the symmetry here.
Thank you very much. And it's fruit, so it's a healthy pudding as well.
Oh. Again, I'm going to have a little bit of that later on.
Please
Karen,
do.
thank you so much. Some of the neighbours. Hello, darlings. Having a good time? Yeah. Great. Everyone's enjoying. Derry, you're new to the street, aren't you?
Yeah, I just arrived UK for 3 months and I'm so excited and happy to join the party today.
And meeting everyone here as well, many of them for the first time.
Yeah, it's a great day for me to know the others.
Fab. See you later on.
See you later.
Thank you very much. Well, so Derry has only just moved here, really, but of course, many of the people who live on this street have been here for years and years and years. And I'm just going to wander over here now and chat to Colin. Colin is one of the people who's lived on this street for the longest. Colin, how are you?
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
And Colin, when did you move here?
1984.
And this is the first time, of course, that you've had a celebration like this on the street.
It is, yes, first, yeah.
And what's it like to see?
Oh, it's great. It's, I've seen people and putting names to faces, you know,
Yeah.
I've only seen passing, yeah.
And I love what you're involved in as well, Ruben. You've got a time capsule, haven't you?
Mhm.
What's going to go in it?
A family picture and a flag.
Oh, brilliant. I'll have a look at that later on. Do you know what, everyone? We have had such a fabulous welcome here on the street today. And I think the celebrations are going to continue well into the evening. And I'll be here.
Lovely, thanks so much, Owain. Still here with me, fashion icon Dame Twiggy. Joining us also is historian, author and Daily Mail journalist Robert Hardman. Thank you for taking the time, and I'm going to congratulate you on your extremely good book. Now, there are lots of other books available, of course, so I'm not prejudicing anyone, but I read it cover to cover and it was sensational. Your new book on Her Majesty. Street parties, let's talk about that. I mean, what is the history of street parties in Britain?
Well, it's probably the centenary of the street party. They really started just after the end of the First World War. They were called peace teas in those days.
Oh.
And they tend to sort of come out of moments of great hardship in a way. I mean, the really big street party kickoff was at the end of the Second World War, VE Day. People suddenly, you know, here's a moment to celebrate. And then after the Queen's coronation, there were street parties. And in those days, we were still on rations or just coming off rations.
Yes.
So it was all about trying to find nice things to eat. Now there's masses to eat.
Yes.
You know, it's a totally different. But the fundamental of communities coming together, neighbours, just, you know, even if they've never spoken to each other, just pulling a chair out and table in the street, sitting down and talking.
I suppose that answers one of the questions when people ask it quite fairly of, you know, what's royalty for? Well, it's for things like that. It's for initiating things that are above disagreement and above politics and above all the daily grind that most of us put up with in our lives, and actually creating a special moment, something that we can all agree on.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we've seen all this weekend.
Yes.
I mean, what's really struck me is previous Jubilees, there was always a sort of warm-up where everyone said, oh, no one's going to turn up, there's not really any interest, and then of course there was. But this Jubilee, even beforehand, I mean, the numbers of beacons was more than double those anticipated. The number of street parties and Jubilee lunches, because it's not just street parties anymore. So a lot of people now move the party off the street into a park, a school, a yard, whatever.
There's around about 16,000 street parties taking place there, and that's not in the back garden, that's not in the front room, that's actually in people's streets all around the United Kingdom. Are you a fan? Have you been to
I am.
any?
I went to one yesterday.
Did you?
It was lovely. It was absolutely lovely.
And in years gone by, did you have street parties growing up?
I was, when the coronation happened, I was too little.
Right.
But my sisters remember that. I can't remember another one that I went to, but yesterday it was fabulous. And the best thing, these people, just ordinary people in the street, had baked these amazing cakes and trifles, and we all had to judge them, and it was brilliant, absolutely. And then we had to eat them, which was very nice.
It's a hard job, Twiggy. Someone's got to do it. Robert Hardman, when you were sitting down, we were putting your mic on, you said, I had a go at the platinum pudding. How did it turn out?
I'm afraid it was a disaster. I followed the instructions to the letter. It says at the top, serves 20. Well, at the moment it's serving 1, me, because no one else in the family will touch it. So I'm going to be eating it till July. So I'm afraid on that one, I hand the prize to Constance Bry, 1953 coronation chicken. I think it still is unbeatable. But congratulations to anyone who manages to make the great platinum trifle.
Now, I don't know if you know the answer to this, so we can move on if you don't. But that original recipe for coronation chicken, when we grab a coronation chicken sandwich now, on the run, going to work, are we eating the real coronation chicken as it was specified by Constance Bry?
Pretty much. It's a combination chicken, mayonnaise, bit of curry powder. It was at the time, this was a time when it was very much the mothers, wives, housewives were expected to cook lunch while everybody else sat around and watched TV, and this was a dish that enabled them to cook something in advance so that they too could sit down and watch the TV. That was the nature of British society in those days. It was designed to be something you could cook in advance, and also in those post-war years when food was so boring, here was something with a bit of life and spice. It was sort of exciting, and it's amazing how it stood the test of time.
And it sort of represented the Commonwealth, is that right? In the way of having the curry powder in it, there was that sort of sense of a little something from somewhere else that is part of us.
Spam fritters and sort of,
I mean, actually, I don't mind a spam fritter, but I know what you're saying. Twiggy, so you had a party yesterday. You'll be doing the Danes.
It wasn't our party.
It wasn't your party.
You
went to a
joined
party.
a street party. Yeah, it was absolutely fabulous. And what was lovely, the children they all had their faces painted. They were so excited.
Lovely.
And there were banners. It was lovely.
Well, we look forward to seeing you processing down the Mall, dames
in my
and jags,
jag.
already striking a perfect pose. You just did that like that. So impressive. Okay, millions of us then are getting together to celebrate the Queen across the United Kingdom and the world. Union Jack, bunting, coronation chicken, platinum puddings, and maybe even, well, I don't know, the odd drink or two being enjoyed. Let's take a look at some of the parties. And some lovely scenes too across the nation's capital. There are the flags fluttering in the breeze on the Mall. Big flags, small flags, little people, older people, we're all here to kick up our heels. And there is a lovely sense of fun and celebration in the streets of London, and we hope in your streets too this Jubilee afternoon. So it's not long now till the start of the Platinum Pageant. The crowds have swelled, people are jostling for a spot to watch the parade, and joining me is a platinum-plated London boy. Who else but Len Goodman is here. It is so nice to see you. And also Chef John Turode. We were talking about culinary disasters, so there's plenty to chat about. All the people who are at home right now saying, where's the double cream? That'll all be going on, won't it? That'll all be going on. Len, to you, first of all, thanks for joining us. You're a Bethnal Green boy.
I am indeed.
Did street parties, did they happen?
I've got a photograph here of our street party in '53. I'm somewhere here. Here.
What an amazing picture.
There you go. Who'd have thought it? When my mum left me a box of all bits and pieces, this was the mug we received as well.
I think that's beautiful.
Look at that. Wedgwood. Proper.
That's proper kit.
gear. And when I opened the box up years ago, all this stuff was, I could have pickled my walnuts. I thought, where's all this come from? You know, it's 70 years old, and there you go.
That coronation mug is
Look at that.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's in prime nick.
I love the fact that there's a professional photo as well. It's like amazing photo.
Yeah.
Not an iPhone, just like a proper all done.
That was 70 years ago. But it was such a... It is the earliest proper memory.
Is it?
Is the coronation. My mum and dad bought a telly. We were the only ones down our turning that had a telly.
Right.
We had everyone in the street. All the nans were sitting in settees. All us kids on the floor.
Wow.
Little television. It had two knobs. Turn on and turn off. We never really discovered what the other knob was for. We never touched that. Just the off and on. And the whole family was there, and it was just so memorable.
Can you remember what was going through your young mind at the time?
Well,
I
was 8, so I wasn't really aware of the significance of the fact that it was the coronation. I just remember it was a lovely day. My mum and my nan were cooking up sandwiches and cups of tea, and it was just the most brilliant day.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the Queen's statement at the start of the Jubilee talked about this is a chance for communities to come together. That is what she has been doing for the last 70 years. She's been, in her own magical way, creating moments for us all to have a reason to come together.
Listen, I think the Queen has been so brilliant. It's just so warm and so wonderful. And I think we're blessed that we've had our Queen for 70 years. It's just marvellous.
John Turode, what do you think she... I mean, this is a bit of a big question, maybe unfair. What do you think she stands for? What is it you think... Why do we all feel as strongly as we apparently do?
Well, it's something very constant, isn't it? I mean, it's something which is just so very constant and reliable. You know, and that in this world that we've got, which I think is, you know, quite difficult, there is this constant, reliable thing. And she's quite amazing, isn't it? I mean, 70 years in a job... I mean, not many people you can say you've done your same job for 70 years.
No, remarkable.
I mean, you get a couple of gold watches for that, don't you?
Yeah.
You've just been awarded an MBE, is that right?
I've got an MBE, yes. Well, I've been awarded. I haven't got it yet.
You haven't collected it yet.
No.
But you were on the honours list, the birthday honours list. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about what makes a delicious street party. I mean, how do you make it special? Because a lot of people will be putting in their kitchens today a lot of effort.
Yeah, I think anything you can pick up with your fingers.
Okay.
I mean, that's where it goes to, isn't it? Anything you can actually take it with your fingers. That's why something like a sandwich works, something like even a coronation chicken sandwich, and sausage rolls. I mean, what's the world without a sausage roll and dipping a bit of tomato sauce?
You don't need pomegranate seeds on anything, do you? No.
No, that's the last thing you need. It's like it splatter all over you. And I mean, the thing about it as well, you talk about, you know, about being constant, but it's also really egalitarian, isn't it? And a street party, it brings everybody to the same level.
Yeah.
So that whole thing of a sandwich and a sausage roll and a cup of tea actually makes everybody equal, and that's why the street parties are so much fun.
That's an interesting point, isn't it?
Yeah.
No delineations.
We had a street party yesterday.
Did you?
In our little village. The road was closed. I had the job of deciding which cake was...
You'll make some enemies there, Len.
15 cakes I had to sample. What a job. I wish you'd have been there, John.
I'm good without cakes. I leave that to Dame Mary Berry.
Oh, right. Well, anyway.
What was the best? Can you remember which one?
Well, I liked the decoration, first of all, and afterwards they told me that the daughter had done and it was all little dots and a picture of the Queen, and when you cut it open, it had red, white and blue...
Good job.
...stuff in it, whatever. I'm not a cook, but it was just lovely. It was so nice. So Yeah, that got a 10 from Len, 100%.
Yeah,
that was the winner.
You're not a cook, and I'd like to see his fleckles. Do you know what I mean? Obviously,
exactly.
you're not.
Yeah.
So, John Tarot, growing up in Australia, as you did, part of the Commonwealth, did that mean much to you, to your parents growing up?
Well, I mean, I went to school in the 1970s, you know, and so we still had the Queen above the blackboard.
Did you?
And we had a proper blackboard which had a duster so that the teacher could throw it at you and get you if you're doing something bad.
That's what they were
so
for.
the Queen was there, and we sung the national anthem was "God Save Our, Gracious Queen." And many years later, it was obviously then taken into something completely different. But yeah, the Queen was part of you growing up, but not in the same way as it was here, as far as I can understand. Now that I'm, married to somebody from Britain, but yeah, the party-wise, what's going on here? I think just, it's such an amazing event.
Do stay with us. Lovely to talk to you. It's almost time, I think, to go back to Anton in Shrewsbury. But before we do, let's just take a closer look at the residents of Isle Court Nursing Home as they reminisce and share their memories of the Queen.
My name's Debbie Rees. I'm the Social Life Coordinator here at Isle Court. We're holding a big Platinum Jubilee Sunday lunch party. We asked the residents what they would like, and they came back with a traditional Sunday lunch. So we're going to be going with down the roast beef, all the trimmings.
My name is Jenny Mack. The coronation was the biggest thing that had happened to us in our little lives, and after the dreariness of war, the whole atmosphere changed, and the coronation almost was like a trigger point to show that we had moved into a new time.
My name is Joan Edwards. Well, every week Princess Elizabeth used to come on the wireless, and she used to say, "Hello children everywhere, hope you're being brave away from your family." And then she'd say, "Well, that's it, I think. Good night children everywhere."
It was almost as though she was like a sort of very special big sister.
I think she's a wonderful queen.
I'm Joyce Patricia Gover. I've always admired the Queen. She's a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother like me. And she's normal, though she's fantastic.
Apart from the 79 residents being here, the family and friends are invited, so it's going to be a really big event, making these amazing memories for everybody.
I'd like to say a huge thank you, Your Majesty, for being so faithful to the calling put upon you. I hope that you have many more happy years, and happy years of leading us as your nation, because we love you.
Now, for the residents of Isle Court Nursing Home here in Shrewsbury, the Queen has been a constant in their lives. She means everything to them. She is of their generation. Now, I'm here with Katie, who, with Debbie, has been organising everything here, and it's going marvellously. With all the lovely, lovely residents, how's it been going?
It's just been so exciting. Everybody has been involved, and of course, having you here has been icing on the cake.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Keep going. Keep going. How long have you been preparing for today?
Oh, the team here have been working for weeks. It's just such a special occasion for everybody.
Well, it's absolutely marvellous, and thank you very much, Katie. I'm going to have a little word here with Jenny. Now, Jenny, I'm going to come on bended knee if that's all right with you, because I don't want to. There you go. How about that? We're about to do a Buster play. Now, I know you've got memories of the coronation because you listened to it on the radio.
No, the wireless.
Oh, the wireless, of course.
But it wasn't wireless because we had wires strung up all across the room so that we could hear it properly. Because you have to have wires up in the sky to catch the signal.
Right. Yeah. Is that how it works?
And there were wirelesses all around the floor as well to plug into holes in the wall to get the charge up.
What were your memories of that day?
Rain.
Rain, yeah.
Cold and rain.
Cold and rain. Over here, I've got lovely Joan. I've got like Toulouse-Lautrec over here. Now, the Queen is someone you can always rely on, and you feel very strongly about that, don't you?
I do. The Queen epitomises everything that is British and the Commonwealth. She keeps it together.
And you sort of live your life by her motto, isn't it?
I do. She has always said, I will never complain and never explain. And she's kept to that all the time.
Absolutely marvellous. Now, Joyce, yes, I think so. Now, Joyce, can I just say, Joyce, how you look absolutely wonderful in red, white and blue. Are you having a lovely time?
I'm not telling people how much you're paying me.
We'll keep that between ourselves. Are you enjoying the day? Have you enjoyed all of the celebrations?
That's up to a point, apart from the rain.
Apart from the rain. Well, it wouldn't be British if it didn't have the rain, would it, really? Now, Beth, you work here at the nursing home, but you've also been in the same room as the Queen.
Yes.
Let me get this for you, Beth. Let me hold that. That's
yeah,
better.
so I was fortunate enough to go to Windsor Castle for my dad's investiture moment with the Queen. It was she herself, and she looked absolutely fantastic in lilac.
Oh, wonderful!
She looked
a wonderful
brilliant.
day. A wonderful day. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for having me. This inviting me along this afternoon. I reckon we should give the Queen a hip hip hooray. What do you reckon? After 3, 1, 2, 3, hip hip. Hooray! Oh, James, take it away. Beth, let's. Come on, shall we dance? Oh, marvellous. Your Majesty.
Thanks, Anton. I wouldn't mess with Joyce if I were you. Earlier today, the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall were at their own special big Jubilee lunch. They went to the Oval in London. Now that looks a little bit posher than what most of us will be doing today, but rather splendid all the same. Len, you had the honour, I believe, of dancing with the Duchess of Cornwall.
I did indeed. That's my only real brush with royalty. But it was lovely, and she had a lovely rhythm about her.
Did she?
Yes, it was a joy.
What were the circumstances? How come you were
Well,
dancing?
it was a thing about for the British Council of Ballroom Dancing.
Right.
They had a do, and she was the guest of honour. And somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Would you like to dance with Camilla?" I said, "Oh, it would be an honour." And so I was a bit nervous. I thought, because years ago I always used to get a knockback when I used to try and dance.
You did?
Yes. So anyway, I said, "Would you like to dance?" She said yes. And we had a lovely little smooch round the floor. It was lovely.
Nice. You also just told me when we had a little bit of film on there, this might be my favourite fact of the day, that your nan had a corgi called...
Brenda. Brenda the corgi. Yeah.
Of course she did.
Of course she did, yeah.
I mean, I really liked you, and now I like you even a little bit more, because your nan had a corgi called Brenda. We're going to try the platinum pudding,
oh, yes.
which, yes, this was my idea.
Right.
Because we came on air at 1 and I haven't had lunch. So this has got, it's a lemon pudding. It is the winner, of course. It is Gemma Melvin who created this really, I mean, it's the perfect pudding to me because it looks doable, but it looks special, John Terode.
Yeah, I think it looks special. The other thing I know that Gemma tried to do was to do it in such a way that you could buy many component parts.
Okay.
So you've got a Swiss roll in the bottom, and then there's sort of lemon curd, and there's different creams, and there's marmalade, and there's biscuits across the top. A lot of it you can buy already done.
That's
and then
smart.
put it together, or you can bake all component parts if you want to.
That's smart.
So that's a great thing to do.
Okay, should we try
but
it?
It's pretty extraordinary, isn't it?
We're not going to dig into that masterpiece. We've got our own little version.
That's a
of it
pudding
here.
and a half.
And has it got mandarin oranges in it?
It's got mandarin apparently in one layer, cream, and then this lemon curd through the actual roulade. And apparently lemon is the Queen's favourite flavour, and amaretto is a classic accompaniment.
Well, I like lemon, so I like that. Do you like it?
I'm loving it. I love it. Yeah, because it's got all the things I like. Lemon curd.
There was a lovely bit of research went into her idea for this pudding, which was she looked at the Queen and Prince Philip's menu for their wedding breakfast, and she found out that they had lemon posset, which of course was a very sort of 1940s, 1950s type dessert, and then the amaretti biscuits, and she combined them in one pudding, which I think is also a lovely romantic idea that she did that. She looked at an important moment, an important food moment in the Queen's life.
But what's amazing as well is you consider that 1953 lemon curd, and we're waiting at, you're talking about coronation chicken, and the fact that probably most people in the coronation didn't make coronation chicken. It's something that's become very, very powerful now as a thing.
Yeah.
And people make it all the time, and it's lasted a really long time. That 70 years later, people are still making looking at.
It's interesting, isn't it? A Victoria sponge is for Queen Victoria. That was invented to celebrate her coronation. So it's really interesting. I mean, I saw Gemma on television, and she was saying, you know, in the programme where the judgment was made that her pudding was the winning pudding, and she was talking about the thought that in years to come, people will be having that for maybe a special birthday lunch or a special event. That's quite something.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it actually looks like a trifle, so it doesn't look like it's scary. You know, that iconic British trifle in that big, lovely glass, and it's quite show-off, isn't it? It's a, you know, a lovely thing to present to your friends and take to your street party, and at the end of the day, it's cake and some cream.
I mean,
it's good.
What is not to like?
Yeah, and it's tasty, I must say.
It is.
I'm taking this away with me, so...
Just over 30 minutes time then. You shouldn't eat and talk, should you? It's rude. The Platinum Pageant will be starting, and commentating throughout is going to be Claire Balding, our newly awarded CBE broadcaster. Congratulations to you, Claire.
Oh, Kirsty, thank you so much. Get back to that pudding. It looks delicious. This is the scene, and nearly 8,000 performers are preparing for their role in a pageant that is for the people and by the people. It's going to be full of merriment and exuberance, a real feast for the eyes and ears. The crowds, as you can see, really building, and the weather, it's chilly. It's pretty cold. It's overcast. Thankfully, at the moment, not raining, and we may just get away with it. Probably better, cooler rather than warmer. Over this circular route of 3 kilometres, we're going to see the Gold State Coach and the Household Cavalry leading the way down the Mall towards Buckingham Palace, so coming down from Admiralty Arch towards Buckingham Palace. And from that ceremonial, disciplined presence, the tone will change. Now, buses are not normally allowed on the Mall. Today, though, is an exception. There are going to be a bus for every decade of the Queen's reign, packed full, as we've been hearing, of famous faces with music and fashion from the relevant years right up to the present day. From Olympic champions to dames in Jags, Bond cars and bicycles, acrobats and actors, it's going to be a human sea of activity and energy. And then we will move on to the carnival section and see the most magnificent floats supported by thousands of dancers. And bear in mind, this is a once-in-a-lifetime performance. It hasn't had a dress rehearsal, so that rather adds to the jeopardy. It is bound to be brilliant, though, and for all those gathered here and all those watching on television, it will most certainly be memorable.
So trestle tables, kitchen tables, folding tables. Tables are very much at a premium, I'm guessing, today, lining the UK's streets, as is worktop space, as people have been cooking up a storm, as we were talking about with John, for their street parties. Take a look at this. Even their Royal Highnesses are rolling up their sleeves. Here is the Duchess of Cambridge trying her hand, or the kids are trying their hands at a little bit of baking. Looks like a pretty reasonable result. In fact, everyone's at it. David and Victoria Beckham have been hosting their very own Jubilee lunch, and theirs was quite the guest list, as they invited along some truly inspirational people who all had one thing in common. They were awarded MBEs for unwavering duty to everything from foster care, youth work, literacy and sport to working in the emergency services.
Tie look alright?
Perfect.
The dress looks good.
We're here today to celebrate our MBEs. There's 2 empty seats at the table. We don't know who they're for. We're all wondering, and it's going to be quite exciting to find out.
Want to go in?
Let's go in.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Afternoon.
So lovely.
So I definitely was not expecting the Beckhams, and it was such a lovely surprise.
Victoria.
Yes, this is very fancy.
It is.
Now, David, firstly, great name.
Thank you, David.
Secondly, I heard that you received your honour from the Queen in your uniform.
Yes, although I'd retired from the service, I held on to my walking out uniform, and it was just a day of fairy tale, which I'm getting a bit emotional now.
I drove in, it felt like I was in the Crown or something, driving through, and it was...
Don't worry, we all feel like that. We all feel like that.
It was just amazing, magnificent.
I remember when I went to the palace, I mean, I was quite relaxed on the lead up to it, but I was so impressed. And I don't think anything can prepare you, right, for how impressive it is.
And when I spoke to the Queen, she knew so much about me. I mean, she must have a memory that's fantastic.
When I obviously met her, she turned around to me and said, "How's Victoria? How's the kids?" And I was like, I couldn't even answer because it was one of those moments where I was like, how do you even know? It's just quite an incredible moment.
I received my honour for fostering services. I fostered over 100 children.
Wow.
I'd bought shoes a size too big because I didn't want to get painful feet on the day, so I'd shuffled all the way around the palace trying to keep up with everybody, keep my shoes on. It was terrible, but you know, she was just so amazing.
I received my honour in 2016 and it was given for contribution to British Bangladeshi football.
We're told that you have a daughter the same age as Harper. Is it Hannah? And she's following in your footsteps.
She decided, well, we'll do a charity walk. And the target initially was £1,000. By the end, she had raised £15,500. We walked 40 kilometres.
You must be very proud.
Very proud. I have to get Harper to do that.
I know. Are we allowed to eat these scones, or are they props? I'm just checking it's not a prop.
Because I'm taking them home for Harper. You can't eat too many.
I can
You
have
can't
half
eat
of
any
one.
of
I
this.
could have half of one.
Given that I haven't got my honour yet, I'm 27 weeks pregnant. So I'll receive my MBE next year. Do you have any tips of when I go to the palace?
Well, I think a good tip would certainly be to ask for a seat near the bathroom if you're about to have a baby, because you never know what might happen.
Would you need that? Good idea.
Might need more than a toilet if the water's break.
But that is true.
And my tip would be, don't wear too high heels, because that couple of steps back that you have to take is quite challenging. Not that obviously I wore heels receiving mine, but you know.
It was a feeling of immense pride, being recognised for what you've done, and then spurring you on to do more.
As the Queen has often said, when she took the throne, she would serve for the rest of her life. I think that sort of ethos has been in my life, as we've heard from our colleagues here today, that they're not going to stop just because they've had an MBE.
Meeting such inspiring people with such great stories to tell and be there to celebrate with them has been a real honour for us.
I would like to raise a glass and maybe be upstanding for Her Majesty the Queen on an incredible moment of Platinum Jubilee. So, Her Majesty the Queen. It's quite emotional to talk about it because, you know, I've been able to travel around the world and to go to different places and live in different countries, and everybody talks about Her Majesty, and that makes us very proud.
Looks like a lovely occasion. Well, joining me now are two people who've also had the pleasure of receiving an honour. Let's welcome Ellie Simmons, OBE, and Jay Blades, MBE. Thank you both for coming. You got your medals in little boxes.
We've got them here.
Let's have a look.
Gorgeous
Let's have a gander.
Look at your boxes. Yeah.
Oh, look at
so
that.
this is the OBE, which I didn't realise when you've got to when you get an MBE and then an OBE, you got to send the MBE back.
Because Ellie, you were the youngest person ever to have an MBE conferred upon them.
Yeah, 14. Yeah.
14?
Yeah, when I got asked, an MBE, which at the time, I'm going to put my hands up, I didn't really know what it was.
Did you?
Yeah. So I got a letter sent through the post with, the royal crest, and I opened it and thought, wow, this is nice. It's a letter from the Queen awarding me an MBE. I was like, oh, this is lovely. But then I was like, Mum, what is this?
Fair enough.
What is this? But yeah, she was like, oh wow, Ellie, you've got an MBE. Like, this is a huge honour, and it's incredible.
And to be the youngest person ever awarded something, that's quite something. So when you get your OBE, you give them back the MBE. Is that what you said?
Yeah, which I didn't realise.
Why is it? Why have you got to give it back?
Do you know? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it's quite nice. I wish I had the MBE and then OBE. But yeah, it's a huge honour, and it's nice to get that to get the award from the Queen, and so many incredible people out there as well have received the honour, which is so.
Well, I guess that's what I mean. That was the interesting part of the Beckham's film. There is that these awards, you know, people have all their honest opinions about awards and whether they should be given, but it gives an opportunity, I suppose, for the establishment to recognise people who so often are unrecognised.
Yeah. It's also to celebrate the uncelebrated, because there's a number of people out there in the community that are doing some great work, and as far as I'm concerned, to give them an OBE or an MBE, it's one of those things, just say, keep on doing what you're doing. So it gives everybody an opportunity to get one.
Jay, you did a repair shop special for the Jubilee. How did that? I haven't seen it yet. How did it go?
You haven't seen it?
I'm going to watch it on the iPlayer. I've been busy. I've been busy.
Yeah, you have been busy. I'll let you off. But no, it went really, really well. And the one thing for me was having, we had this lantern from the Tower of London, and it is just a joy to work on something that is a working object. It's going to be going out there. It was out there for 103 years, I believe, just being used every night to lock up the actual tower. And then whilst we had it, they weren't allowed to use it, obviously, because we had to repair it. But we've made it ready for, I think, another 100 years.
Wow. I will watch that on the iPlayer.
Yes, please.
1977 then. Do you remember the Silver Jubilee?
I love 1977, Silver Jubilee. I remember it for the food, because I was walking around. On our council estate, we had a street party, and then a friend of mine came and said, oh, you should come to my council estate. So we walked up the road, and every street was having a street party. So you could just drink tea, have cake, have biscuits. It was
What's
quality.
not to love?
Come on.
Yeah. Now, Ellie, I'm not even going to ask you about this Silver Jubilee, because you definitely weren't even born.
I remember 10 years ago.
Do you? You remember the diamond?
The 2012 one, which for me, 2012 was an incredible year. But then seeing the Queen and her 2012 year was just phenomenal. So I remember that one really, really well.
Now, somebody was telling me when we were talking about you coming on as a guest, so the Queen was a famous girl guide. You were a very keen girl guide growing up.
Yeah, and I was a leader, brownie leader.
Were you?
Yeah.
A brownie leader?
Yeah.
I never got to be a leader.
Yeah, they call me Aqua Owl, actually. So
Aqua Owl?
Yeah, all the kids were able to choose my name, so there was gold medal owl or any other owl, but they said I was like, Aqua Owl's quite a nice one. I'll go for Aqua Owl.
That's cool. Jay, if you had to sort of sum up the appeal of Her Majesty, I mean, why are you here today? Why do you want to celebrate?
To tell the truth, the reason why I celebrate, and I do it almost every day, you celebrate because the Queen is the Queen, and what she stands for is tradition and just that kind of dignity that she just walks with all of the time. Whatever she does, she is just a real treat as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Ellie, what would you say?
Yeah, she's so iconic, isn't she? And I think for me, she's all I know. You know, the Queen is the Queen. She represents our country. As Olympians, Paralympians, we swim for the British, for the flag, but she is that flag. She's the icon to Britain, really.
Yeah, tell me more about that, because when you stand on the podium and when the moment comes, I mean, very, very few people have had that experience, but we all watch you and are millions as you have that experience, and quite often it appears to be quite an emotional experience as the flag is raised and as you hear the national anthem. What's going through your head? What are you connecting with?
It's emotion. You sing that national anthem so loud, so proud, and when you're standing on that podium, it's all that hard work, and especially for a Paralympics, it's every 4 years. You work hard for that 4 years moment, and then when you've done well, and it's bronze, gold, silver, but especially when it's gold medal, and you hear that national anthem, and you see the flag raised, and it's just such a moment you'll never ever forget. And for London 2012, when it was 17,500 people in that stadium, in that pool, just singing the song, it's a memory for me that'll last a lifetime.
I bet. How you talk about it so beautifully. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you both for coming along as guests today. It's so nice to see you. The pageant is almost upon us, and the Mal's starting to get pretty busy. We're going to go back to AJ, who is joined by entertainment royalty, I'm told.
Indeed, the excitement here is palpable. There's so much movement as everyone is readying themselves for the beginning of the pageant. And joining me right now is the creme de la creme of entertainment royalty, Dame Joan Collins and Dame Darcy Bussell. Ladies, you're sat in a Jaguar. No guesses on what you'll be doing in the pageant today. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm beyond excited, AJ. This is fantastic. There's my friend Juliet.
There's Paul.
Mills.
going across there. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's going to be one of the greatest days, I think, that London has ever seen. Don't you think, Basie?
Well, yeah. Fortunately, I'm in Joan's, Jag. My Jag's over there. I'm not travelling with Joan, but I feel very honoured and unbelievable to be thinking that we're making history here for the Queen.
I mean, it really is. You've hit the nail on the head there. It's an iconic event, a historic moment. And, Darcy, you have met the Queen herself. Is it true that she's not the biggest fan of ballet?
Ballet, she's been very honest, and what I love about her is that she is on your personal level. She will speak to you totally frankly. She always supports us, and she will come to so many performances, and we've been so lucky. But she has said to me, very frankly, and said, I think I've seen enough ballet for the year.
I love that.
But it was opera as well.
She's a real one. And Dame Joan, you have met Her Majesty the Queen so many times. What's your fondest memory of her?
Well, strangely enough, she loves the theatre because we were at a performance at Buckingham Palace of My Fair Lady, which was Pygmalion, by some RADA students, and we had a long discussion about the theatre and how much she loves the theatre, how she knew the play. She, I think, performed the play when she was a little girl, so she really does know about that. I hope she's watching this because I think she's going to adore it. It's just so exciting.
It's the buzz,
vibe,
isn't it?
The vibe is extraordinary here, really extraordinary. I mean, everybody's really excited.
Oh, absolutely, myself included. I really hope you've been practicing your royal wave.
Oh, yeah, actually, I haven't practiced that. Have you practiced that, Joan?
Yes.
No? Yes.
You just did it.
Apparently, the audience are going to be, we have the crowds on our left.
Oh, really?
Yes, I know that. And I'm in a 1935 Jag. That is amazing, isn't it?
This is mine.
This is going to be such a spectacular day. We'll give you the royal wave.
Royal
That's
wave.
our best. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, ladies. Dame Joan has been practicing her royal wave all her life. Now, look at that. On the Mall and surrounding areas, that's where they are. They are waiting on the Platinum Pageant. They will not be disappointed. The rain's threatened, but it's never really come so far. Let's not tempt fate, but there's an umbrella. And people just getting in the mood, getting in the spirit on this final and very special day of the Jubilee weekend. Well, we're going to go back now to Sophie Morgan, who is in Lavenham in Suffolk. Let's take a little look at how the village have been preparing for their big day.
My name's Lizzie Faulconer. I'm organising the big lunch here, the street party for Lavenham. This should be a celebration fit for a queen. I hope it will be.
I'm Sally and I've been deemed head of bunting. You can't have a decent street party without lots of bunting. We've had 5 lovely volunteers who've all been helping making the bunting. We've got over 600 metres of bunting that's going to crisscross the square.
Queen Mary has visited, Prince Charles has been here at least a couple of times, and Princess Anne's also been here. The Queen has actually visited this village as well, so we have royal connections.
My name's Susan Stannard and I was born in Suffolk. I was first baby born on Coronation Day. When I was born, because I was born on Coronation Day, the nurses put red, white and blue ribbons around my cot and suggested that my mum called me Elizabeth, but she'd already chosen my name, so I then became Susan Frances Elizabeth.
My name is David Deacon. I'm 84 and I've lived in Lavenham all my life. I have seen the Queen more than once. She came to the village and she's such a special person to the whole country and an example to the world, really. Celebrations got to have some purpose, and this one has got a terrific purpose that we've had a monarch for 70 odd years.
The Queen is the one constant in my life. She's always been there and she has such a huge sense of duty and community, and I think this is kind of a way of sort of paying her back.
It's a real honour to put on a party like this. I feel as if I'm somewhere in the middle of all this history of Lavenham, just doing my little bit, which is wonderful. I am truly humbled to be doing it.
Well, I am here in Lavenham. It is amazing.
amazing. We've got nearly 500 of the local villagers here celebrating. The atmosphere is extraordinary. And I'm joined by Lizzie, who is the organiser of the event. Congratulations, Lizzie.
Thank you so much.
Now, you said there that you wanted to make this event fit for a queen. I think it's safe to say you've pulled it off.
Thank you so much.
But it must have taken a huge amount of work. Has it all gone to plan?
I think it has, actually. I'm really pleased with how it's gone, and actually our team have been amazing, so I'm really grateful to everybody.
Are you going to get any time to sit back and relax?
Yes, as soon as I finish this, we've got a drone going up to take a photograph, and then I'm going to just join my family and finish off our day. So,
celebrate in style.
And then I'm going to lie in a darkened room tomorrow.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
David, you've lived here your entire life, and you've celebrated all of the Jubilees here. How does it feel to be here today, and how does this Jubilee compare to some of the others that you've been to?
This one seems to be even more jubilant and a lot more bunting and joyous, but I think it's all because we're coming out the back of COVID and everybody's feeling really happy for the Queen and also coming out of COVID.
Yeah, happy to be together.
Happy to be together, and it's a really joyous occasion, one that I haven't seen like this for ages and ages.
Amazing, and I love your tie. And well done, Sally, for the bunting, and your team as well. Absolutely amazing. 600 metres of bunting here. Now, I'm also joined by Mary, who has a very special love story. Mary met her late husband, John, on the day that the Queen was crowned. Mary, could you tell us about that story?
We both were invited to a party on board one of the river steamers on the Thames to see the fireworks. And I arrived rather late, and John was already sitting down because they had long lines of seats, and he and I were not sitting next to each other. But come the fireworks, I found him beside me. And from then onwards, we got on very well. And the next day, he invited me to lunch. And he came to Unilever's and caused a certain amount of chaos because he asked the very pompous Chief Commissioner whether he had any shoe cleaning stuff. Because John had spent the night watching the processions on the streets in the Mall. He'd been in the Mall, and so, of course, his shoes were not clean. and he was rather upset about that. But anyway, we had a very jolly lunch, and then we had one weekend with his family and a weekend with my family. We went to the varsity match together, a further weekend, and then the next weekend we got engaged at the beginning of September.
Well, congratulations, Mary. I just want to point out this beautiful picture of you and John at your wedding day. Thank you for telling us that story. And behind this board, just want to quickly go to Coronation Sue. Sue, thank you so much for holding that. Now, you were born the day that Mary and John met, and you brought along a picture of your parents. Can you tell us why and why this day is so special to you and your family?
Well, being born on Coronation Day was special, and my dad was lying in the route at St James's Palace, which made it even more special as a family. And so I was so very proud of all the links that we had as a family.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Well, so many special royal memories here in this village, and I'm sure many, many more are going to be made here today.
I'm sure. Thank you. Jay Blades is with me, and Robert Hartman is back again, a man who knows a thing or two about pageantry. You're looking forward to today, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, this is every day's had its own sort of characteristic, and today I think is certainly the day that there's not really any script and it's just improvised. 10,000 people. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
I know, I said that a moment ago at the start of the programme. It does have a uniquely British flavour, and for that it's all the better, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it really doesn't matter what happens, it's going to be fun. I mean, you know, even if it rains, even if, I don't know, some of obviously working with children and animals, maybe that doesn't always go according to plan, but it doesn't matter because it's a Jubilee.
Jay, it was interesting to hear the question asked, how does this Jubilee compare? There is a sense in which, yes, we have come out of this great shared trauma of lockdowns and COVIDs, and it's sort of it's lending a kind of piquancy to the whole thing. We're all delighted to be seeing everybody again.
Yeah, we're delighted to see everybody, and we're delighted to just have this massive celebration together, which is what it's all about. I think today, yesterday, day before, all of these celebrations is just everything all rolled up into one.
Just very briefly, Robert, do you think that's an important part of the ingredient this weekend?
Absolutely. I mean, as we saw in that charming scene just there in Lavenham, I mean, you know, the landmarks in the Queen's life, they're the landmarks of all our lives. Prince Charles touched on that in his speech last night. You know, these are the punctuation marks of national life. I mean, there'll be people who are children today who'll be remembering this in, you know, when they're 70 years hence. And that's, to be able to do that, that's very rare. Just to fill the Mall like we saw it last night, there's nothing else that can do it. And with such a cross-section of ages and backgrounds and nationalities, I mean, it is unique. I mean, it just really is.
For now, thank you so much, UJ, and we'll be talking later on in the programme, I'm sure. So the time has almost come for the Platinum Pageant to begin. Leading the commentary will be Claire Balding, who'll be joined by some special guests. It is set to be a military start to the procession with only minutes to go. Let's go back to the 2nd of June 1953 to the coronation in Westminster Abbey, where Her Majesty's historic journey began.
Westminster, the twin towers of the Abbey, standing as they do on a site which has seen very nearly all our kings and queens crowned for almost 900 years.
I have in sincerity pledged myself to your service, as so many of you are pledged to mine. Throughout all my life and with all my heart, I shall strive to be worthy of your trust.
And here is the Gold State Coach travelling through the crowd-lined streets of London just as it did all those years ago when it was carrying a very special person. On June the 2nd, 1953, the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II was the first to be televised. For many people, it was the very first event they ever watched on TV. Many crowded round tiny sets in their neighbour's front room. And now, in celebration of Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee, a global audience of 1 billion people are tuning in to be part of this wonderful pageant to celebrate the Queen's 70 years of dedicated service. This has never happened before. The Queen, not only the longest reigning British monarch, but the 3rd longest reigning monarch the world has ever seen. You see images there projected onto the windows of the Gold State Coach. And how do you honour a life of duty and service that has been so much a part of all our lives? Well, this is the People's Pageant. Yes, it's led by the ceremonial grandeur of the Gold State Coach, those magnificent 8 Windsor greys drawing the carriage. We've got the household cavalry as well, and you're going to see so much over the next couple of hours that is not only splendid and glorious, magnificent, ceremonial, it's got pomp, but it is not pompous. But you're also going to have hours that are warm, fun, entertaining, and most of all, memorable. Thousands of performers reflecting the last 7 decades, the many skills and interests shared by people across the land. But I'm joined for this first section by military expert Brigadier Greville Bibby, CBE, and by broadcaster and author Giles Brandreth. 750,000 people lined the route from Westminster Abbey back to Buckingham Palace back in 1953. And Giles, you were part of that crowd.
I was in the crowd, yes, on my father's shoulders. I remember the rain. I remember the periscope, watching the gold coach as it went by. A cardboard periscope with tin mirrors inside it. I don't think the look was very good. And I'm wondering what the Queen now is thinking as she looks at this, as I hope she is watching this afternoon. I'm sure she is. Because I think she described riding in that gold coach as quite uncomfortable. In fact, she said it was horrible. It's only sprung on leather. Not very comfortable at all.
It is so impressive to look at. They're commissioned in 1760 for George III and completed 2 years later and been used for the coronation of every monarch since George IV. And it's gilt wood, and you can see cherubs, that very ornate roof to it as well. And it's the ceiling, if you like, of the coach. Greville, this is such a wonderful sight, and it is images like this projected around the world that I think pay homage to the history, the traditions of of the military in this country.
It certainly does, Claire. And just looking at the coach there just reminds me of a wonderful anecdote that I was told the other day at the rehearsal, that it's so heavy at 4 tons that when they start the parade, they have to time it with a rolling start. So the coach comes out of the Royal Mews along the side of the troops and then takes its position between the Household Cavalry, and then everyone has to step off to ensure the coach doesn't stop, which I suppose is understandable at 4 tons.
It's wonderful, isn't it, those images? There's a great sense, I think, of lightheartedness as well as seriousness to this. The balance is going to be, I think, just perfect. At the very head of the parade, in the centre with the white swan feathers there on his hat, we see Major General Christopher Geeker. He's the Major General commanding the Household Division, and he will give the salute, which will be received by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales.
Yes, probably some of the 3 busiest men in London this weekend, Claire. You've got General Chris Geeker in the middle there, who's just saluting, and he's flanked by his principal staff officers, Lieutenant Colonel James Shaw of the Grenadier Guards and Colonel Jeremy Bagshaw of the Coldstream Guards, and behind him Jamie Roy of the Irish Guards. Chris, of course, is an Irish Guard.
And many of these horses were involved on Thursday in the Queen's Birthday Parade, and the wind is quite breezy today, and that can sometimes get under their tails and in their ears a bit and makes them a little bit jiggy. But Major General Geeker's horse Atticus behaving beautifully.
Jiggy is what it does get. When the Queen in 1937 went to her own parents' coronation, she wrote her an account of it to give to her parents after the day, and she described the coach she was in on that day, which was a glass coach. She went with her sister. She said, at first it was very jolty, but we soon got used to it. And that, in a way, I think describes what our approach to the rain has been. At first a bit jolty, but you get used to it.
And Claire, it's quite interesting to note that none of those gentlemen that you see in red there at the front, they're guardsmen, foot guardsmen. There's a clue in the title. They're meant to stand on their feet. But of course, in days gone by, the officers were mounted, hence they're on horses. But interestingly, looking at behind them, you've got the Household Cavalry, and of course, they are meant to be on horses. But what's quite interesting about the Household Cavalry is so many of these men and women join the army, thinking they're going to join a cavalry regiment that probably got tanks and go off to war in their tanks, and they're told that actually there is an option of riding a horse. And many of them have never seen a horse, let alone got on a horse, before they join the army, the Household Cavalry, and they go off and do an intensive 16-week.
Well, you can see there at the back, actually, having to sit tight, and not easy to do that in the boots that they wear, which are very, very stiff. I always think, as we come towards the salute, the lead group are about to reach the royal box. Same position as it was last night. You see it there with the red carpet on the left. Same position as it was last night for the concert, and there His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales receiving the salute from Major General Chris Geeker and the Household Division. I always think one of the most magnificent sights are the drum horses, and we've got 2 Shire horses on parade, and you will notice that obviously the drummers, they can't hold the reins, so they have to, the reins are attached to their feet, and that is how they are changing course if that needs to be done with the horses that they are riding. But Ed is the drum horse for the Blues and Royals, and he is 17 hands one. He's magnificent. There they are. And Harry for the Lifeguards is 18 hands 2. That's huge, and only finished his training last year.
And again, these gentlemen joined the army to be musicians. They didn't think for a minute they were going to be sat on a horse with their drums and their other instruments. It is a remarkable feat.
So the Household Cavalry, as we've mentioned, made up the 2 most senior regiments in the British Army, the Lifeguards and the Blues and Royals.
It's so ingenious, this figure of the Queen, isn't it, sitting in the royal coach, because what they're managing to do is give us in 2022 the Queen from 1953. It's extraordinary. One of the Queen's press secretaries once said to me, "We like to think we're as modern as tomorrow with a lot of time for yesterday." And they're certainly combining that here.
I also think it's worth noting that the household cavalry that we see on their horses, of course, are soldiers first. And it's interesting to know that there have been members of the household cavalry in every military operation since the Second World War. And that's everything from Aden through the Falklands and, of course, into Iraq and Afghanistan. So soldiers first and ceremonial second.
The Blues and Royals were ahead of the Gold State coach, and then we see the lifeguards behind them with the white plumes and the red jacket.
Led by their officer, Lieutenant Felix Pitty of the lifeguards.
And I also think the stage here, given how different last night was with the concert and the different groups appearing either in front of the Queen Victoria Memorial or with the gates and the palace behind them, and now transformed into the stage for this pageant.
This is living history, and indeed here is living history, because as they come past, we've got Prince William, Prince George, we've got, as it were, the next generations, the story that goes on. It is true, isn't it, that the Queen is fascinated by the detail of all this. She notices the uniforms. She recognises the different kinds of horse. When all this is for her,
we have the King's Troop here, the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. It's their 75th anniversary this year. And those guns, they've got 6 quick-firing 13-pounder guns. Different sort of horse here, you see them with the hogged mane as well. They're much smaller, chunkier, more solid, if you like.
They're led by Major Fran Sykes at the front there, and 50% of the King's Troop are women, which is a really lovely thing, and they are a fantastic outfit, named the King's Troop because King George VI suggested that they should be on ceremonial parades, and from that day on they've been on parades, and in honour of her father, Her Majesty has left them as the King's Troop.
Would it be controversial to mention that Major Fran Sykes is riding a horse called Yornbury Dawdle, but has a stable name of Boris? Not sure one should say that or not, but anyway, he's a 7-year-old gelding.
Well, and he was the quickest to pass out of training. It only took him 6 months. Quite a character he is, likes attention and eating the plumes on the officers' busbies. I went actually they're based in Woolwich now, the King's Troop. They used to be in St John's Wood, and I've been and seen the riding lessons that they give. And it's quite an intense programme that they go through, and they've got a fantastic indoor arena, but plenty of cases of falling off and getting back on again.
And you actually don't want to fall off when you've got one of those guns coming up behind you.
We move on now to the Royal Marines Band, leading the naval contingent in the Royal Marines Band service. We've got representatives from HMS Collingwood and the band of Her Majesty's Royal Marines Commando Training Centre in Lympstone.
And again, there's a theme here. Of course, they're musicians, and they're outstanding musicians, but also at times of war, they put their musical instruments down and they pick up their stretchers and drive ambulances, and they become frontline medics.
Her Majesty the Queen is Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Navy, and late Duke of Edinburgh was Lord High Admiral.
I think previously she was the Lord High Admiral. When he got to one of his special birthdays,
90th birthday,
she wanted to give him something, and she looked in her bottom drawer. She found he'd got everything already, so she took off her own Lord High Admiral's badge and thought, well, you can have this, you deserve it.
I was being told an anecdote by a friend of mine whose father was in the Royal Marines. James Hardy's father was in the Royal Marines, and those pith helmets in the days of the coronation, they used the blanco. They used to put white stuff on them to keep them white, and of course the coronation was a very wet day, and the rain caused the blanco to run down all over their blue uniforms. And his father was recounting that story the other day.
So I was worrying about the possibility of rain today for the floats that are coming later and the silk flags we're going to see, but I hadn't considered white paint running down people's faces. So here we have the Royal Navy. And it's so smart, and watching people march in complete unison, and the sound of it as well, the sound of their boots on the tarmac, and interestingly the Mall, pink in colour, to look like a red carpet leading to Buckingham Palace. You can hear those boots hitting the ground.
And these Navy personnel, again, men and women, have come off their ships, and this is not what they do for a living. And I've been told that when the call went out for volunteers to come and take part in this pageant, they were overrun with volunteers. And not surprisingly, these people will be able to say forevermore that they were there at the Platinum Jubilee for Her Majesty.
Seeing the Royal Marines, the amphibious troops of the Royal Navy, acknowledged as one of the world's elite commando forces.
They really are. I was privileged enough to serve with the Royal Marines for a short while in Afghanistan for about a month, and they are the most remarkable people.
Now, Brigadier, can you explain when the moment of the salute happens? I noticed the Prince of Wales nods, and that's because he's not in uniform, therefore doesn't salute with his hand.
It's funny you should say that, Giles. I noticed that very sensibly the Prince of Wales has not put a hat on, because he has the option of wearing a hat. But of course every time he would take the salute, and he's been saluted 42 different times by the 42 different units marching past him, he'd have to take his hat on and off 42 times. So I think very sensibly he's settled on a nod.
Now we move on to the British Army, and it's going to be represented by 770 service personnel. We see the lifeguards leading the way, formed in 1660, and based on a group of gentlemen who accompanied King Charles II to the continent when he fled in exile. And these, the Luzon Royals, created much more recently, in 1969, by the amalgamation of the Royal Horse Guards and the Royal Dragoons. Coming thick and fast, the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, we've got Royal Lancers, we've got massed pipes and drums.
Of course, all of these units, all these regiments have an affiliation, a special association with Her Majesty the Queen. Colonel-in-Chief to many of them, the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards and the Royal Lancers.
This is why this is so intriguing, I think. It is almost a history lesson. We've got the history of the British Isles marching in front of us. The background to so many of these groups is the story of our country.
And they're the Queen's Gurkha Engineers. Again, Her Majesty is Colonel-in-Chief. Of course, the Gurkhas on operations constantly, taking their turn with everyone else.
Yeah, they fought in every major British conflict, most notably the First World War, when they gained the reputation of being the bravest of the brave.
Indeed, with 26 Victoria Crosses since 1858 to show for it.
And now we have the Foot Guards, all 5 divisions of the Foot Guard on parade today, the Grenadier Guards.
And this really is history, isn't it? Because they've served 11 kings, 4 queens, including, of course, our current Queen, Elizabeth II.
Indeed, and Her Majesty's first military appointment was Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. And of course, she's recently assumed Colonel of the Grenadier Guards again. Huge pride. Of course, the Grenadier Guards, within their ranks, within the 1st Battalion, has the Queen's Company, and they are her personal company.
Today formed of representatives from the Nijmegen Company of Grenadier Guards. Coldstream Guards. And Her Majesty the Queen is their Colonel-in-Chief, and followed by Scots Guards.
Yes.
I should do not. I'm looking at them thinking, I bet they're glad it's a cool day.
Well, so many of these guardsmen were on parade for trooping the colour on Thursday.
The Irish Guards with their blue plume.
Indeed, and they were trooping their colour, as you know.
And Prince William has been the Royal Colonel of the Irish Guards since 1998. And wore actually their red uniform to his wedding to Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Cambridge back in April 2011. They have an Irish wolfhound, by the way, as their mascot. Welsh Guards?
Welsh Guards. I think it's rather nice. So you've got the Grenadier, the Coldstream, and the Scots, who the Queen has a relationship with in terms of Colonel-in-Chief. She is Colonel-in-Chief as well, but the Irish Guards and the Welsh Guards are actually here representing the whole nation. The Foot Guards spread across the whole nation.
So eyes right and then eyes forward. And here we have the combined band of British Army Band Sandhurst and British Army Band Colchester,
led by Major Craig Bywater, who's their Director of Music. And they were only recently formed in 2021. Her Royal Highness the Countess of Wessex presented them with the royal title. The Royal Corps of Army Music, 750 regular serving musicians. This is the Adjutant General's Corps, and these are the men and women who effectively work behind the scenes, whether it's policemen and women, whether it's clerical support, whether it's chefing. These are the people who ensure the British Army functions. And again, Her Majesty is their Colonel-in-Chief. You'll see here, Claire, this is quite difficult. Marching in a straight line, keeping in rank is difficult enough, but as they go past Prince Charles, they have their eyes to the right and keep marching in a straight line. For those people who are on ceremonial duty regularly, it's less of a challenge, but for men and women who are not necessarily on ceremonial duty the whole time, it can be quite challenging.
And this looks like the Royal Air Force. Her Majesty the Queen is Air Commodore-in-Chief of the Royal Air Force Regiment. And the RAF Regiment, a specialist corps founded by Royal Warrant in 1942 by King George VI, the Queen's father. And it's their 80th anniversary this year.
It is, and again, like the army that we've seen before them, these men and women are always deployed on operations, so wherever the army go, you'll probably find the Royal Air Force Regiment there as well, specifically supporting the RAF, providing that support that the RAF require for their planes to land and take off, keep safe.
The Queen's late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, famously, of course, was in the Royal Navy, but used to say that if given left to his own devices, he'd probably have joined the RAF. In fact, flying was the great passion of his life.
We know how keen Prince William is on flying.
Indeed, and you might remember, Giles, we were talking earlier that the Duke of Edinburgh was qualified on 59 different aeroplanes and helicopters.
Tom Cruise would be impressed with that.
Is he qualified on any?
Oh yeah, Tom Cruise, absolutely.
He does all his own stunts.
Yeah, does all his own stunts, Greville. Anyway, back to the badges. The combined bands of the RAF, musicians from across the Royal Air Force Music Service, 122 personnel of the band, and it's led by the Principal Director of Music, Royal Air Force, Wing Commander Piers Morrell. alongside the senior drum major, Warrant Officer Paul Phelan.
And the RAF do such a remarkable job because, of course, based primarily in the United Kingdom, but having to go off to the operational theatre from home in many ways, and the RAF is a huge team that supports the aeroplanes to do their business, and you've got the engineers and the auxiliary and all those men and women who work so hard to ensure that the aeroplanes get into the air and hopefully return safely.
The marching, the music, they're magnificent, but they also have military applications. Certainly they did historically. Is there still value to this, Brigadier, in terms of, military skill, being able to march to music like this?
Yes, I think it comes down to discipline and teamwork, Giles. Two essential criteria for any team, whether you're in the armed forces or not. But in particular, within the armed forces, we ask these people to do things that the ordinary person might not feel inclined to do, and discipline and working together is absolutely essential to achieve that.
Prince of Wales receiving the salute from the Royal Auxiliary Air Force.
And talking about ordinary people, I mean, this is what they are, Claire. These are ordinary people who do an extraordinary job. We often think, it's the armed forces, they're different, but they're not. They're men and women, they're humans just like us, they have feelings, they have families, and they'll be so proud, and their families will be so proud of what they're doing today.
And now we see the flags of the Commonwealth being carried by UK military and representing all 54 Commonwealth nations. And Giles, this is one of the great achievements of the last 70 decades during the Queen's reign. Yes. The growth of the Commonwealth.
It's extraordinary, the story. I mean, we know that the Queen loves the Commonwealth, but what you see here is actually how her commitment to it has really changed the world we now live in. You've got a Commonwealth of 54 countries, some of whom had no association with British history. I mean, Rwanda has joined the Commonwealth, Mozambique has joined the Commonwealth. These have no British heritage in their past. They simply wanted to be part of this family of independent countries that voluntarily come together. And in a couple of weeks' time, the Prince of Wales, who's taking the salute today, will be with the Duchess of Cornwall going to Rwanda for the latest Commonwealth Heads of Government gathering, which has been postponed because of the pandemic, but is taking place in Rwanda in 2 weeks' time. And of course,
Canada represented there. And you're going to see, we've seen Australia and the Bahamas and Bangladesh and Belize. And you just saw Canada.
The country that was Swaziland is next, Eswatini.
And this whole parade is...
Sorry, go on, go.
Sorry, Claire. No, this whole parade is a mile long. So when the Major General passed the Prince of Wales, Uganda was still outside Downing Street. Here they come.
I think there are 212 personnel from 21 Commonwealth countries. They're not all here, but all the flags are here. Countries great and small. The Commonwealth represents 2.5 billion people across the globe. It's a third of the world's population are in Commonwealth countries.
Oh, wow. Now that is impressive. And this is where it is a bit like an Olympic opening ceremony, and you quite often will see a flag bearer looking different to everybody else, and that really is terrific. And I think it was the Warriors, actually. It was New Zealand, that's right. It was the Warriors at the head of that contingent, and they are called Matatawa. And their leader is carrying a toki, which is an axe made of a greenstone, but that is one way to arrive on the Mall, isn't it?
Barefoot in the park is what we're getting now.
Just don't want them appearing at Twickenham, do we really?
So the Malaysian flag there.
And the Queen, throughout her long reign, has been to all these Commonwealth countries. And it's still, of course, when High Commissioners from those countries come to this country, she is still on her Zoom calls, having the ceremony they call credentials, where the new High Commissioner presents their credentials at the Court of St. James, and they now do it mostly on Zoom. But occasionally they still go to Windsor to meet Her Majesty.
So the Seychelles and Sierra Leone going by. And Peter Phillips taking a keen interest there as well.
Imagine when they left home, where are you going? I'm going to London to march in the Platinum Jubilee. I'm going to salute the Prince of Wales. I'm going to march past Buckingham Palace. It's just fantastic.
Tanzania, and Tonga,
and many of these countries are now republics, but they're still members of the Commonwealth because they want to be. The Queen is head of state in 15 countries, as well as ours. Sometimes people think when a country goes independent, it wants to somehow disassociate itself with the Commonwealth. That isn't what happens.
and the RAF band bringing up the rear.
There is a Garrison Sergeant Major behind the band, Bern Stokes, who is the architect of this parade and most parades that take place in London.
This is where we need the lip readers to tell us exactly what the Prince of Wales was saying there.
He was saying how smart they were, Giles. And how much he loves this piece of music. We all do.
And smiling at the same time, I noticed.
And all these units, Claire, have had to march at a 30-inch pace. The Garrison Sergeant Major, you can see at the back there, insisting that everyone's at a 30-inch pace and 116 paces a minute. And that keeps the parade absolutely right. Everybody passing the right spot at the right time.
And all of the bands playing the same piece of music?
No. Actually, what they had to do, they had to make sure that the bands, the 6 bands on parade, were evenly spread so that they didn't interfere with each other's music.
Now, you saw that a clearing up job was being done there, and that is for the launch of the next part of the parade. There is Sir Chris Hoy on the right, Kadina Cox in the middle. This is the time of our lives, this section is called, and Kadina Cox there famously won gold medals in both athletics and track cycling at the Rio Paralympics. Behind Sir Jason and Dame Laura Kenny, and on the tandem that is Laura Faki, MBE, who won 2 Paralympic gold medals, and her pilot Corin Hall, and really enjoying themselves. This is a great moment, it really is. I mean, Sir Chris Hoy, who won 6 gold medals, was only surpassed by Jason Kenny at the last Olympics. Kadina Cox, though, has really emerged as a personality as well as a great athlete. But Chris Hoy, I mean, what a legend he is in Olympic and Commonwealth sport, and also just a great man to work with, and I've had the pleasure of doing so on many occasions. And Kadina, by the way, a very good cook, has competed on MasterChef very successfully. And when you look behind Laura and Jason Kenny, there has never been a power couple as successful as them in British Olympic sport. 7 gold medals for Jason, 5 for Laura, and they are followed by a peloton of over 300 classic bikes. And
suddenly this is turning into a proper British event. I mean, this is what I love about this afternoon.
It's going to be
quirky. It's a roller coaster. It is going to be quirky, it's going to be eccentric. We've had the military, we're also going to have some madness. And here comes a touch of the madness. 300 classic bikes, bakery delivery bikes, a tandem 1973 rally chopper, a bespoke bicycle based around a section of the London Underground map.
And look at that, Giles. Those are the strictly professional dancers on the pedie bike. See Graziano there, and the others. You see these going around town sometimes, and people with drinks on them. And I always think, how does that work? I'm delighted that we've been joined in the commentary box by Lulu. What a great moment to bring you in, Lulu.
Charles, do you know him? He looks like he might be a friend of yours.
I think he might look like Mr. Toad. I mean, as a compliment, smoking his pipe as he came along.
Eccentric, brilliantly eccentric in the British way.
I'm hoping we will see a tricycle. I have a tricycle. I could have lent mine. Oh, look at this.
Whoa. Oh, we got the wheelies.
Yeah.
Now, is that something you can do, Giles?
I'm working on it. My new best friend, Jax Jones, is going to teach me a bit of that.
I thought your new best friend was Sam Ryder.
Oh, I move on.
I thought it was me.
Oh, no, Lulu,
you're my old best friend, Lily.
We're for seconds. What do you think of the beginning of this, the time of our lives it's called? We're about to go into the buses that will have the decades represented of the Queen's reign. Classic motorbikes going through with rockers riding them. We're about to see Morris Minors. The bus itself will be surrounded by Lambeth walkers.
I love it.
And we're going to see 70 years of history represented and interpreted.
It's just the whole thing. It's what you said. It's the eccentricity of the British people. That's what I love. I mean, I used to tell my grandchildren, I want to turn into an old eccentric woman, but they looked at me as if to say, but you are a young, old, whatever you are, you're eccentric. And I love that about the Brits. We are crazy and fun. Look at that. And this is such a joyous occasion, uplifting from the minute it started till right now, and nobody's excluded. Nobody. It's inclusive. That's what's so great about it.
And I think the reason we're engaged is it is the story of all our lives. Of course, we're celebrating Her Majesty the Queen. Amazing 70 years of service. But for most people watching, the Queen has been our sovereign for all their lives.
E.T., the most famous bike rider of the lot.
Look at it's inside his sort of little, what is that? A little sort of bottle carrier thing. Oh, that's so cute.
Looks like a milk crate, actually. Now here comes
look at this.
The Morris Minors.
And the lilac one in front.
Now, I don't know if we're allowed to reveal the year in which Lulu and I were born, but I think it could be the year that the Morris Minor came into being. And it did so well. It just sort of took off, the Morris Minor.
Yeah, 1948. It was a very good year.
It was a great year.
You're right when you say it took off. 1.6 million of them sold between 1948 and 1972. It was the first British car actually to sell over 1 million units. Very, very popular. In the 50s, you see the Morris Minor police panda saloon.
That, yes.
And there's a truck and a Morris Minor million as well in vivid lilac.
They're still adorable, aren't they? Look how beautifully they've been kept.
And all of them driven by their owners who are really enthusiastic about the brand, about the car, have restored these cars and wanted to be here on parade.
What has changed is, in my day, in a Morris Minor in the early 1950s, I sat on my father's lap. There was no seat belts, and I could drive the Morris Minor myself. Except, and totally, I mean, he usually held the steering wheel, except when he was lighting a cigarette.
Now this, of course, is the Lambeth Walk.
That's what I thought. Look how beautiful.
And that was a dance that, well, the song actually originated in the musical Me and My Girl.
A great musical from the 1930s. A musical, I think I'm right in saying, that the Queen has seen and enjoyed doing the Lambeth Walk.
And this is the authentic dress of the Lambeth Walkers, and there's symbolism here guiding us out of post-war austerity into the youth culture explosion of the late 50s. And here we see the first of our buses, and on the 50s buses. But do you see Bonnie Langford? There's Chris Eubank there, Cliff.
And
Cliff's singing.
Oh,
let's
Cliff is singing. Hush, everybody.
He's gonna lose it. Rock and roll.
And I'm loving Cliff's jacket there. And you saw on the front of the bus there as well, Catherine Jenkins.
Oh, and look, Bonnie Langford, Wayne Sleep, Anita Harris.
And Ben, the flower pot
my
man.
role models when I was a little boy, Bill and Ben, the flower pot men from Watch with Mother. Where is little Weed when you need her? Oh, you schluppler.
Now, Catherine Jenkins, I suppose she's only there, please believe me, everybody, because she's an old-fashioned girl. She doesn't come from the 50s.
And Bonnie Langford's there because she was in Doctor Who and therefore was a time traveller. These people weren't around in the night. Well, except Wayne Sleep was. I think he was born in the same year.